the opening week of Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial marked only the beginning of what's shaping up to be a seismic reckoning. With explosive testimony from Cassie Ventura and a dramatic appearance by Kevin Hart, the public watched a once untouchable music mogul be pulled from myth into stark reality. But what lies ahead may be even darker. The trial is no longer focused solely on Diddy's actions. It now raises questions about who knew, who remained silent, and who else could be implicated. High-profile names like Kanye West, Kid Cudi, Britney Spears, Prince, and even Diddy's sons have already been mentioned in court. As the second week looms, federal investigators and insiders suggest that even more shocking revelations are on the horizon. This is no longer just a celebrity scandal, it's the unraveling of an entire empire. The courtroom was left reeling by the end of week one, largely due to Cassie Ventura's harrowing testimony. As Diddy's former partner and artist, she spoke of enduring years of abuse, manipulation, and psychological domination. She described a world of luxury that masked a disturbing reality, one where wild sex parties, drug use, and violence were not exceptions but the norm. Cassie's account included being drugged, secretly recorded, and forced into sexual situations with strangers under Diddy's watch. She painted a picture of a man who used his fame and fortune to completely isolate and control her. Among the most disturbing incidents was one where Diddy allegedly chased her through a hotel hallway, footage that has since gone viral. The trial took another dramatic turn when Kevin Hart made an unannounced appearance in court to support Cassie's claims. "We laughed in rooms we should have run from," he told the jury, calling out the silence that protects the powerful. His words struck a nerve, until Diddy's legal team fired back with text messages and video clips aimed at undermining Hart's credibility and questioning how much he truly knew. As testimonies unfolded, more names began surfacing, not because they were facing charges, but due to their closeness to Diddy and his world. Kanye West, Britney Spears, Michael B. Jordan, Prince, these weren't casual mentions but deliberate references brought into the official record by both sides. The case quickly shifted from being about one man's alleged misdeeds to exposing an entire network of complicity and silence surrounding him. With week two approaching, speculation grows over rumored subpoenas and pending depositions. What started as a single man's trial is fast becoming an indictment of an entire culture of power, secrecy, and celebrity protection. Even the jury selection underscored the magnitude of this case. Finding 12 impartial individuals who had no opinion on Diddy, a man who helped define hip-hop in the 90s and 2000s, founded Bad Boy Records, collaborated with icons, and was a staple of elite parties in Beverly Hills and the Hamptons, was a near-impossible task. He wasn't merely a celebrity, he was a cultural force. Jury questionnaires asked the usual questions about bias and knowledge of the case, but how could anyone be neutral about someone who starred in Super Bowl ads, built a fashion empire, and once reigned over New York's nightlife? With the trial now underway, concerns about impartiality are growing more serious, especially as the names mentioned in court go far beyond minor references, they're major public figures. Kanye West, Britney Spears, Prince, Michael B. Jordan, Michelle Williams, Bruce Willis, these aren't just celebrities, they're cultural icons. Their names carry significant weight, and even a passing mention in this courtroom brings powerful influence. Consider Kanye West. Jurors were asked if they held strong opinions about him, not because he's a defendant, but due to his recent musical collaborations with Diddy. The court needed to know if jurors' feelings about Kanye could affect their ability to fairly evaluate someone he's associated with. Then there's Prince. Ventura testified about a rare chance to perform at Prince's house, a moment of empowerment that Diddy allegedly tried to sabotage. Prince isn't on trial, but hearing his name associated with themes of jealousy, abuse, and control has a lasting impact on the courtroom's atmosphere. When Diddy's defense casually brought up Bruce Willis and Eddie Murphy during a discussion on co-parenting, it wasn't just a throwaway comment. It was part of an argument suggesting Cassie's actions were rooted in jealousy. But for jurors, it was yet another set of high-profile names thrown into an already tense narrative. The challenge now isn't just whether jurors can remain objective about Diddy, it's whether they can keep their focus as more and more famous names are drawn into the case. Every time a new celebrity is mentioned, headlines follow. That puts pressure on the jury not only to weigh the evidence, but to separate it from the cultural impact of the figures involved. Among all these names, none stir as much unpredictability as Kanye West. Just days after Diddy's arrest, Kanye released a song titled Lonely Road Still Go to Sunshine, which includes a prison phone call between Combs and his son, Christian King Combs. The song didn't gain attention for its musical style, it caught fire for what it seemed to imply. Why would Kanye drop a track with a prison recording just as Diddy's legal troubles were surfacing? Was it a gesture of support, a show of loyalty, or a calculated move? The timing sparked widespread speculation. Some interpreted it as Kanye trying to humanize Diddy, presenting him as a father enduring a spiritual struggle. Others saw it as a deliberate distraction. Kanye has a history of controversial moves followed by symbolic statements, efforts to shift public perception. But this situation is even more layered. The court directly asked jurors if they held views on Kanye West, suggesting his role in Diddy's life could influence how jurors interpret Diddy's actions, even if Kanye isn't facing any accusations himself. What complicates things further is Kanye and Diddy's deep, long-standing relationship, personal, professional, and spiritual. They've shared the spotlight, collaborated musically, and even stood side by side in political moments. Since Diddy's arrest, Kanye hasn't pulled away. Instead, he's leaned in. Legally, that's not a problem. But in the court of public opinion, it adds fuel to an already volatile fire. Whether he means to or not, Kanye West is now a shadow presence in this trial. And the world is watching to see what he does next, and whether his role in Diddy's story becomes more than just symbolic. When Cassie Ventura testified that Diddy had threatened to blow up Kid Cudi's car, the mood in the courtroom shifted noticeably. This wasn't just an emotional anecdote, it was a serious accusation of intimidation, with a chilling resemblance to real-life events. Ventura claimed that when Diddy found out about her romantic involvement with Kid Cudi, he didn't just get angry, he issued a clear and violent threat. According to her, he said, "I'll blow that mother's car up." At first, it may have sounded like something said in the heat of the moment, an emotional outburst. But what happened later gave the statement an unsettling weight. In February 2012, Kid Cudi's car unexpectedly caught fire while parked in his driveway. It was initially dismissed as a freak incident. No charges were filed, and there was no police investigation into possible foul play. But years later, Ventura brought it up under oath, and the context suddenly seemed much darker. She described the fear that followed, not just for herself, but for the people in her life. Her testimony suggested that Diddy's influence and control didn't stop with her. Anyone he viewed as a threat or rival, she claimed, could become a target. Kid Cudi, once a passing name in the narrative, now stands as a potential key figure in revealing a deeper pattern of psychological manipulation and aggressive behavior. Whether or not Cudi will testify remains uncertain. Even a deposition could have significant impact. He wasn't just a romantic partner, he was a well-known celebrity allegedly targeted by Diddy out of jealousy or control. If Cudi supports Cassie's account, it could reinforce the other troubling behavior she described: rage, obsession, and vengeance. Although Cudi hasn't addressed the case publicly, legal analysts believe he may not be able to stay silent much longer. With Cassie's legal team pursuing more extensive investigations into past threats and suspected intimidation, Cudi might soon be asked to share his version of events. If he backs up any part of Cassie's claims, the consequences for Diddy could be serious, possibly leading to criminal charges for intimidation, threats, or endangerment. What once seemed like a dramatic story from a failed relationship is now under legal scrutiny. And if the fire wasn't accidental, it becomes more than just suspicious, it becomes potential evidence. Actors like Michael B. Jordan, Bruce Willis, and Eddie Murphy might seem out of place in a trial involving abuse and sex trafficking. Yet, all three were mentioned during the first week, each in a different context. Still, their names collectively point to something larger: Diddy's vast network and the complex emotional web between him, Cassie, and the prominent people connected to them. Cassie testified that a brief romance with Michael B. Jordan triggered another violent reaction from Diddy. She said he found out about the relationship through surveillance, a disturbing sign of how much control he maintained over her life. The aftermath, she claimed, wasn't just an argument. It became physical and emotionally charged. While the connection to Jordan doesn't carry legal implications on its own, it highlights a larger concern. Cassie said she didn't just worry about her own safety, she feared for anyone she tried to form a relationship with. That fear, she claimed, kept her silent for years. During cross-examination, Diddy's legal team brought up Bruce Willis and Eddie Murphy, seemingly to portray Cassie as someone envious of others. They read text messages in which she allegedly said she wanted to be more than just a girlfriend, implying a desire for fame or status. The defense's strategy appeared aimed at undermining her credibility, but the broader narrative still pointed to a pattern of power, control, and intimidation that stretched far beyond just one relationship. She hoped to become a mother figure to Diddy's children. In court, the attorneys referenced Bruce Willis and Eddie Murphy as examples of celebrity fathers who had successfully co-parented after separation. The suggestion was that Cassie wasn't simply a victim, but someone trying to secure a lasting role in Diddy's life. However, this strategy may have backfired. Instead of undermining Cassie's credibility, it revealed just how far Diddy's legal team was willing to go to portray her as manipulative. More critically, it brought two high-profile names into the courtroom without their approval. Bruce Willis, who has remained largely out of the public eye due to health issues, and Eddie Murphy, known for guarding his private life, have made no public comment about their names being brought into the case. The fact that their parenting approaches are now part of a legal argument highlights how the trial is bleeding into the broader world of celebrity culture. These stars aren't being accused of anything, they're being used as symbolic references by both sides. And in doing so, the public is reminded that fame doesn't shield anyone from becoming part of a larger spectacle. In a trial of this magnitude, even those on the sidelines can get caught in the fallout. When Cassie mentioned Prince in her testimony, it didn't just get attention, it caused concern. Known for his reclusive nature, Prince had once invited Cassie to perform at his home, a moment she described as a dream come true. She chose not to tell Diddy, knowing the potential consequences. And her fears were justified. According to her testimony, Diddy discovered the invitation, followed her, confronted her, and assaulted her, not because she did anything wrong, but because she acted on her own. What makes this testimony so powerful isn't just the mention of Prince, but that his private, prestigious home served as the setting for another instance of alleged violence. This wasn't a chaotic party or public scene. It followed a visit to one of music's most revered spaces, violated by Diddy's possessiveness. Britney Spears' name also came up when Cassie's 21st birthday celebration was discussed. Guests included Diddy, Dallas Austin, and Britney. According to Cassie, this event marked her first real glimpse into Diddy's tight ties with A-list celebrities. While it was a lavish celebration, for her, it symbolized the start of a life under control. Prince and Britney aren't on trial, but their names underscore a bigger point. Diddy wasn't just surrounded by supporters, he was surrounded by icons. When your circle includes legends, who dares to challenge you? That seems to be the underlying question for prosecutors. These gatherings weren't merely social events, they were carefully crafted displays of influence, power, and silence. People danced, drank, and stayed quiet. If they asked questions, they only asked once. These celebrities are significant not because they are involved in any wrongdoing, but because their presence demonstrates how Diddy operated within a realm where fame served as both a shield and a distraction. In that world, warning signs were easily overlooked, hidden behind strobe lights and elite parties in Beverly Hills. Week 1 of the trial lifted the veil. Now, in Week 2, the question lingers, how many more names are hidden behind it? The trial itself has already been explosive, but the real intensity may lie just outside the courtroom. As testimonies grow more detailed and evidence builds, people from Diddy's past are stepping forward, breaking their silence and adding more fuel to the fire. No one has spoken out with more intensity and clarity than the women of Danity Kane. Aubrey O'Day has long been one of Diddy's most outspoken critics, even before the current legal proceedings began. But now, her voice is gaining traction. In a recent interview, she described Diddy as a soulless man, stating that his treatment of Danity Kane left lasting damage that changed the trajectory of her life. She was not vague or symbolic, she was direct, outlining a toxic work environment filled with manipulation and constant fear during their time under his leadership. Dawn Richard soon followed, and her involvement wasn't limited to the media. She officially joined a civil lawsuit against Diddy, accusing him of sexual abuse, brutal working conditions, and using intimidation to silence his victims. Most notably, she claimed to have personally witnessed Diddy abusing Cassie Ventura. This isn't just support, it's eyewitness evidence. These women weren't distant observers, they were chosen, managed, and promoted by Diddy at the peak of his career. Their accounts aren't tabloid stories from the past, they're now part of official legal records. Legal experts believe there's a growing possibility that one or both women could be called to testify if the criminal case expands. Aubrey's past interviews are now being revisited with fresh interest. One particular podcast from 2019 has gone viral, where she said that Diddy could break someone with just a look, and often did. She described a strict environment where you couldn't speak unless addressed, and if you didn't smile, you were gone. At the time, her comments were brushed off as bitterness from a disbanded girl group. Today, they seem like a warning sign. If these women testify in the coming weeks, the focus could shift from just Cassie to a broader pattern of abuse and control, one that spans years and multiple victims. That shift could pose a serious threat to the defense, not one accuser, but a group of women telling a consistent, disturbing story. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team continues to frame him as a misunderstood creative genius under siege. Yet one issue they can't seem to manage is the growing attention around his sons. Christian King Combs and Justin Combs were both detained during the high-profile raid on Diddy's mansion in 2024. Initially, it was seen as a dramatic but routine move. However, new information suggests something far more serious. Christian Combs now faces a lawsuit alleging sexual assault and battery aboard a luxury yacht reportedly chartered by Diddy himself. Though Christian denies the accusations and hasn't been criminally charged, the situation has investigators asking a critical question: was Diddy enabling this behavior, and was he present when it occurred? This incident isn't an outlier. It mirrors the same secretive, drug-fueled party environment described by Cassie, an atmosphere disconnected from accountability. What could be especially damaging is the allegation that Diddy knew about the incident shortly after it happened but chose not to act. If proven, this could shift the narrative from isolated incidents to a possible conspiracy. While Justin Combs hasn't been named in any lawsuits, his detention during the raid has renewed focus on his close ties to Diddy's inner circle. Sources connected to the investigation say federal agents are now examining communications between Justin and Diddy, particularly those related to events at several properties. And that raises an important question: why does this matter? If prosecutors can prove that Diddy didn't just host but also enabled or covered up criminal acts involving his own sons, the case enters a completely different legal realm. This goes beyond simple abuse, it's systemic, organizational misconduct on a high-level scale. With week 2 approaching, there's growing speculation that one or both sons might be called to testify, whether voluntarily or by subpoena. If they do, they'll face a harsh dilemma: protect their father or protect themselves. Either way, the glossy, Instagram-perfect image of the Combs family has been shattered. What remains is a family empire under attack, where loyalty has become less of a virtue and more of a risk. As the courtroom prepares for another week of testimony, it's becoming clear that this is just the beginning. Week 1 already revealed a surprising list of celebrities: Kanye West, Kid Cudi, Michael B. Jordan, Britney Spears, Prince, Michelle Williams, Bruce Willis, Eddie Murphy, Suge Knight, and even Diddy's own sons. Some were mentioned as part of Cassie's timeline, others came up as part of the defense strategy. All are now part of the official trial record, which means more names could emerge. Reports confirm that more subpoenas have been issued and new depositions are in the works. Federal agents, including those from Homeland Security and the FBI, are examining digital evidence, especially surveillance footage from Diddy's properties. This includes what lies beneath them, the tunnels. The infamous tunnels beneath Diddy's mansion, long rumored on social media, have now been confirmed by architectural blueprints and security staff. Prosecutors haven't disclosed what they've found there yet, but insiders suggest video files, client lists, and possibly NDAs hidden in secret compartments could soon become evidence. This is a pivotal moment. When the case shifts from witness testimony to solid digital proof, it's no longer about who claims what but about what can be verified. Once footage matches names, the floodgates will open. Who else might be implicated? Rumors suggest more high-profile guests from Diddy's famous white parties and private island retreats could surface. Not just musicians, but moguls, executives, influencers, people who have spent years shielding the system Cassie says nearly destroyed her. The prosecution has hinted that week 2 will bring new revelations. In other words, more witnesses are stepping forward, more stories are being validated, and the timeline of Diddy's alleged abuse is expanding. This trial began with Cassie, but it could end by changing the conversation around celebrity culture, power, and silence. The truth isn't just about what happens inside a courtroom, it's about what gets revealed when the spotlight shines. And right now, that spotlight is just starting to heat up.